Welcome to the Raw Vibe Podcast. I'm Chuck Tuck. Today, we're going to talk about shrinking things down to the tiniest level to answer a simple sounding but fascinating question. So what actually happens to water molecules when water boils and when it freezes? Are you curious? I am. So stick around. We're going to use some simple everyday examples and a couple of surprising facts. So hang tight and let's get right into it. First, imagine water not as a flat liquid, but as a bustling crowd, like little people moving, jostling around, and holding hands sometimes. Those people are water molecules, and each molecule is made of two hydrogen atoms bonded by one oxygen, hence H2O. The magic in water's behavior comes from how these molecules move and how they stick together. Everything about boiling and freezing comes down to energy, specifically energy of motion. At the cold end, molecules are moving slowly. As you heat up the water, you give molecules more energy and they wiggle faster and faster. Think of energy like the volume on a radio. Low volume, people whisper and stand closer. High volume, everyone is dancing all over the room. In water, this dancing is molecular motion. How strongly the molecules hold hands while dancing really determines whether water is solid, liquid, or gas. So why do water molecules hold hands at all? Well, because of something called hydrogen bonding. The oxygen end of each H2O molecule is, get this, slightly negative, and the hydrogen end is slightly positive. So, opposites attract. That makes each molecule want to link together briefly to its neighbors. In liquid water, those bonds form and break constantly, kind of like people joining hands and letting go again. That's why water flows. The bonds aren't permanent, they're temporary connections that let molecules slide past each other. Now let's freeze water. As temperature drops, molecule motion slows. The molecules don't have the energy to pull away as often, so hydrogen bonds become more stable. The molecules arrange themselves into a neat repeating pattern, a crystal lattice. So an important and counterintuitive fact about this lattice holds molecules a little bit further apart than in liquid water. So ice is less dense than liquid water. That's why ice floats. So picture dancers forming a geometric line with arms outstretched. The group takes up more space than when they were clumped closely on the dance floor. Freezing also gives us interesting behaviors like supercooling. Water can stay liquid below 0 Celsius if nothing triggers this crystallization. But once a seed crystal forms, freezing can sweep through quickly, releasing energy as it does. When water freezes, it releases energy called latent heat, energy that must be removed for freezing to continue. That's why a pond doesn't freeze instantly once the air hits 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 Celsius. The water has to dump the heat into the surrounding areas so molecules can settle into the ice structure. Alright, so let's flip to boiling. Give water enough energy, by heating the kettle, molecules move faster and faster. I look at it like this. Remember when we put water in that pot and you turn on the heater and you watch it kind of go from not moving and all of a sudden small bubbles form and then big bubbles are going and it's going faster and faster and they're popping and all of a sudden you see all the steam come out? Well, we're going to get to that. So these molecules are moving faster and faster. At the surface, faster molecules sometimes escape into the air as vapor. That's evaporation, which happens even below boiling point. But when the entire liquid reaches a temperature where internal vapor pressure equals outside pressure, you get boiling. Bubbles form throughout the liquid, not just at the surface. Inside each bubble, water has become vapor. Those bubbles rise and burst, and energy that was keeping the molecules together is now allowing them to fly apart as gas. Boiling consumes latent heat as well. the latent heat of vaporization. It takes a lot of energy to fully separate molecules into gas, which is why sweating cools you. Your body uses energy to turn liquid sweat into vapor, carrying away the heat. We've now reached the point where I could tell you about 2 consequences and 1 surprise. So 2 everyday consequences. 1, ice floating protects aquatic life in the water. Ice on top insulates the water below. Number 2, boiling water kills germs because the high temperature and rapid motion disrupts the biological molecules. And here's a neat surprise. Water has its maximum density at about 4 Celsius or 39 degrees Fahrenheit. As it cools from room temperature down to 4 Celsius, it becomes denser. Then it becomes less dense as it freezes. That's a quirk of the hydrogen bond geometry. Alright, so let's do a quick recap of this. Heating gives molecules energy to move and escape. Boiling turns liquid into gas. Cooling slows them so hydrogen bonds lock them in place. Freezing turns liquid into a crystal that takes up more space. Energy in, energy out. That's the short version. Thanks for listening to the Raw Vibe Podcast. And remember to subscribe and comment. And please, if you're a pet owner, remember to be a responsible pet owner and have your pets spayed or neutered. All right, folks, until next time, remember, live life to the fullest like it's your last day. See you next time. Bye-bye.